Hey there everyone, welcome back to the new chapter of walkthrough series, unless I call it new chapter. In this video we will commence with Cambridge 8, passage 1 from test number 1. So reading passage 1, a chronicle of timekeeping. We know that reading passage 1 is somewhat of a factual. We are dealing with something that is actually true, or they consider, or let's say the publishers or the makers of this passage, they consider is true from where they've got this passage actually from. So facts, what we have to do first of all is pay attention to the types of questions. So we have matching features along with some sort of classifications where we have to find the claims made by these 6 authors that are given within this rectangular shaped box, and then followed by some sort of a diagram where we have to actually find the suitable words from the how the 1670s lever-based device work. We can easily just navigate through we can just basically skim, so we can actually find it. There we go. To address this, an original escapement was invented, blah blah blah. There we go. Since this is a last, so we have an actual reading passage 1 is consists of the 13 questions most of the time, although I'm not sure. So yeah, last question. Last question types are always based somewhere at the last. Like the very end part of a passage. All right, so let's begin. Okay, so first what I'm going to do, I'm going to pay attention to the questions. A description of an early timekeeping invention affected by cold temperatures. Okay, so a description of early timekeeping affected by cold temperatures. What I want is a keyword here. And then, okay, let me just navigate through this one as well. An explanation of the importance of geography in the development of the calendar in farming communities. Alright, so we're going to highlight that as well. And a description of the origins of the pendulum clock. Details of the simultaneous efforts of different societies to calculate time using uniform hours. So uniform hours is like a 24 hours, or the same exact time that is assigned to a particular place or whatever it is, and that they devised a civil calendar in which the months were equal in length. So a civil calendar where the months were equal in length. They divided the day into 2 equal halves. All right, halves is like halves is something like that is a half, 50-50. They developed a new cabinet shape, for a type of timekeeper. They created a calendar to organize public events and work schedules. All right, and then we have the names: Babylonians, Egyptians, Greeks, English, Germans, French. Babylon, maybe, we don't know. According to the archaeological evidence, at least 5,000 years ago, and long before the advent of the Roman Empire, the Babylonians began to measure time. So they began to measure time. So we want names actually as well. So we're gonna highlight that. I'm gonna use yellow. To begin to measure time, introducing calendars to coordinate communal activities. So we know coordinate communal activities, to plan the shipment of goods, and in particular to regulate planting and harvesting. All right, to regulate planting and harvesting. So something that is it's telling me something that is something that works here, but although not really, but because I remember there were farming communities. Explanation of the importance of geography in the farming communities. Not really. All right, let's go. Before the invention of artificial light, the moon had a greater social impact, and for those living near the equator in particular, its waxing and waning was more conspicuous than the passing of the seasons. The word waxing and waning means something like a increase or decrease, right? Increase or decrease, something like that. Maybe it's a fluctuation as well. Hence, the calendars that were developed at the lower latitudes were influenced more by the lunar cycle than by the solar year. In more northern climes, however, where seasonal agriculture was practiced, so we have where seasonal agriculture was practiced, the solar year became more crucial. As the Roman Empire expanded northward, it organized its activity chart for the most part around the solar year. This is explaining something to me. We remember there is an explanation of the importance of geography in the development of calendar and farming communities. So basically, before it says, before the invention of artificial light, the moon had greater social impact, and for those living near the equator in particular, its waxing and waning was more conspicuous than the passing of the seasons. Hence, the calendars that were developed at the lower latitudes were influenced more by the lunar cycle than by the solar year. In more northern climes, however, this seasonal agriculture was practiced. So the word agriculture is, as we know, is farming or some sort of an irrigation. So we're going to not name, but put paragraph B. Okay, so we're going to put paragraph B here. And I don't want to highlight this, please. Please remove it. Thank you. There we go. And we're going to actually put red color. What we want is red. All right. Then, okay, we're going to remove, we already got answers for number 2. C. Centuries before the Roman Empire, the Egyptians had formulated a municipal calendar having 12 months of 30 days, 5 days added to approximate the solar year. Each period of 10 days was marked by the appearance of special groups of stars called decans. At the rise of the star Sirius just before sunrise, which occurred around the all-part annual flooding of the Nile, 12 decans could be seen spanning the heavens. The cosmic significance the Egyptians placed in the 12 decans led them to develop a system in which interval of darkness and later each interval of daylight was divided into a dozen equal parts. We want that as well. These periods became known as temporal hours because their duration varied according to the changing length of days and nights with the passing of the seasons. Summer hours were long, winter ones were short. Only at the spring and autumn equinoxes were the hours of daylight and darkness equal. Temporal hours, which were first adopted by the Greeks, we have the word Greeks, and by the way, we have the word I met a word German, I guess. Not really. Okay. And then the Romans, who disseminated them through Europe, remained in use for more than 2,500 years. Paragraph C. Is it answering anything here? Interesting, but the catch is always, the catch is sometimes here. Sometimes they can repeat, but it says, but here, okay. I thought that I literally for a moment thought that there was written you can use more any letters or paragraphs more than once. I thought that for a second. So, but no. So if that's not presented here, so it means that actually each paragraph is going to be separate, right? In order to track temporal hours during the day, inventors created sundials, which indicate time by the length or the direction of the sun's shadow. The sundial's counterpart, the water clock, was designed to measure temporal hours at night. One of the first water clocks was a basin with a small hole near the bottom through which the water dripped out. The falling water level donated the passing hour as it dipped below hour lines inscribed on the inner surface. Although these devices performed satisfactorily around the Mediterranean, they could not always be depended on in the cloudy and often freezing weather of northern Europe. We remember that there was an early and cold temperatures, right? So therefore, we have the word freezing, a description of an early timekeeping invention affected by cold temperatures. It is just basically saying that these the devices that they developed, sundials and water clock or whatever it is, they performed satisfactorily. It was the way how it functioned was normal, but yeah, but it could not be dependent in the cloudy and freezing weather of northern Europe. So so freezing is one of the words what we can already meet. So therefore, paragraph D is going to be the answer for number 1. So I'm going to take that and put B here. And once again, I'm going to separate it. Please remove it and put that as, there we go. Paragraph now for number 3. Now number 3 says description of the origins of the pendulum clock. All right. The advent of the mechanical clock meant that although it could be adjusted to maintain temporal hours, it was naturally suited to keeping equal ones. But these, however, aroused the question of when to begin counting, and so in the early 14th century, a number of systems evolved. The schemes that divided the day into 24 equal parts varied according to the start of the count. Italian hours began at sunset. Babylonian, so we're going to remove that a little bit. Babylonian hours at sunrise, astronomical hours at midday, and Greek clock hours used for some large public clocks in Germany at midnight. Eventually, these were superseded by small clock or French hours, which split the day into 12 hours commencing 12-hour periods commencing at midnight. Details of the simultaneous efforts. We know that it's saying some simultaneous efforts. We have 24 equal parts. Equal parts is a word for uniform hours, and the word do we have a synonym for simultaneous? Uniform hours. Superseded. So hours astronomical at midday clock used for some large these schemes that divide into so-called according to the start of the counting hours. All right, so it was naturally suited to keep equals. With these, however, aroused the question of when counting and numbers these schemes. All right, so 24 equal parts. So those efforts all occurred at around the same time. So at around the same time is basically, I would say, is that I would say that this one is paragraph E is a question answer for question number. Description of an early, no, I mean for number 3, description of the origin of the pendulum clock. Or number 4. No, it's number 4. All right, so once again, around the same time. Different societies. So the word different societies. Do we have a synonym for different society? Did we have it? Did we have it? So different societies. We have okay. So that's pretty much it, I guess. Or not. So it simultaneously is a 24-hour equals. Babylon as astronomical hour midday used for large German admitted. Eventually, there was superseded by the clock clocks, which was the integral mathematical midday advent to make light blah 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 and maintain temporal hours was naturally sorted by keeping equal ones. With these, however, there was the question of begin to counting. So basically, number 4 is going to be E, I believe. So yeah, we have no other options, I suppose. So I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna remove it, and I'm going to put it as bold and red. All right, but we're left with number 3. The earliest recorded weight-driven mechanical clock was built in 1283 in Bedfordshire in England. The revolutionary aspect of this new timekeeper was neither the descending weight that provided its motive force nor the gear wheels, which had been around for at least 1300 years, that transferred the power. It was part called the escapement. Okay, I remember this word because it was met somewhere in the diagram. The escapement. In the early 1400s came the invention of the coil spring or fuse, which maintained constant force to the gear wheels of the timekeeper despite the changing tension of its mainspring. by the 16th century, a pendulum clock had been devised, but the pendulum swung in a large arc and thus was not very sufficient. So there's a pendulum. So we have a pendulum clock. Okay. A description of the origins. So it says by the 16th century, a pendulum clock had been devised. The word devised means to invent something or with plan. That also often involves creativity or imagination. So 16th century, a pendulum clock had been devised, but the pendulum swung in a large arc and thus was not very efficient. So that's a paragraph F. So it's like a description of the origins. We're gonna put F here and put that and highlight it. There we go. We're finished with the matching features. Now it's time for us to find the authors. Although authors, the classification takes a little bit of a time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all solve these questions. So I'm going to a little bit zoom out. So escapement, how the 1600. So to address this, a variation on the original escapement was invented in 1670 in England. It was called the anchor escapement, which was a lever-based device shaped like a ship's anchor. All right, so we have resembling. Resembling means copying. So like a ship's anchor. So that's going to be answer number 9. So we have. I'm gonna take that and put 9 here because. So since this is a picture, I cannot really write on it. So anchor. So then we have the something, the circular and the very sharp edge of this small sharp thing. Okay. The motion of a pendulum rocks this device so that it catches and then releases each tooth. So each tooth, the motion of a pendulum rocks this device so that it clocks. Okay. Unlike the original form used in early pendulum clocks, the anchoring permitted. The motion of a pendulum clock rocks this device so that it catches and then releases each tooth of the escape wheel. So okay, we have escape wheel as for answer. The escape wheel. We can say we have how many words? We have 2 words. Yes, the escape wheel. We wouldn't necessarily say this a wheel because generally the meaning of wheel is different. So this escape wheel. So this is going to be the answer for us. Actually, I'm gonna make it bolder here as well. So I'm gonna put 10 for this escape wheel, and in turn allowing it to turn a precise amount. So and then releases each tooth. So a pendulum rocks this device so that it catches and then releases each tooth of the escape wheel. So we know the tooth. So that's basically the tooth, each tooth. So number 11 we have as tooth. We're going to take that, make it bold, and number 11. Yeah, so we have number 11. In turn, allowing it to turn a precise amount. Unlike the original form used in early pendulum clocks, so we are left with small arc. Okay, we have a where is that? In the very small arc, we have the small arc over here, and moreover, this invention allowed the use of a long pendulum. So we have this long pendulum. A long pendulum which could beat once a second. So use of a long pendulum once a second. So we know that this is the answer. So it's going to be basically number 12 and then 13. And then I'm going to highlight it as well. So I'm not really going to highlight them all, and I'm going to say second and long pendulum. So A long pendulum. We can say a long pendulum. That is going to be the answer for number 12. And then which beats each means could once is each a second. Another once a second. So which beats each second. So there we go. We finally answered that. But still we're left with classification. All right, so they devised a civil calendar. It's gonna be pretty hard. But I remember that they devised a calendar which months? Babylonians, Egyptians. So let's. The keyword here is a civil calendar in which the months were equal. A civil calendar. So a civil calendar. Civil is a synonym for municipal. There we go. We found that. And we know the words a municipal calendar having 12 Roman Empire Egyptians. There we go, Egyptians. Let me actually use green color for that. So I'm going to remove this a little bit. And I'm going to make this. Alright, so and then green color for that as well. Actually really annoying when this happens. Alright, so they devised a civil calendar in which the months were equal in length. So what did they say? Before the centuries before the Roman Empire, the Egyptians had formulated a municipal calendar having 12 months of 30 days with 5 days added to approximate the solar year. So who devised this? Obviously Egyptians. Who? The Egyptians. Devised means formulated, which means created. So another one. I don't like it. So we have formulated is a devised. Civil is a municipal. Months were equal in length. Were obviously 12 months of 30 days. 12 months and 30 days, which provided to approximate the solar year. So that means to make sure, not to make sure, but to have a similar months and 30 days to the solar year. So Egyptians, number 5 is going to be E, or I mean not E but B. Sorry for that. Alright, so we have they divided the day into 2 equal halves. We have Babylonians, Egyptians. 2 equal halves. They divided the day into 2 equal halves. We know that 12 equal okay, so where do we have it? And we're gonna have it here. It's better to just skim for the names and for these words that I highlighted. 2 equal halves. Two equal halves. Oh, there we go. So we have something here. So what did they do? They divided the day into 2 equal halves. So the French hours, which split the day into 2 12-hour periods commencing at midnight. So who was that? It was the French, was it? So French, F. F is going to be the answer for number 6. Alright, and then number 7, they developed a new cabinet shape for a type of timekeeper. Okay, this is going to be pretty complex. Cabinet shape. So cabinet shape is a cabinet is a place where governmental officials gather at some sort of a place for meeting or a variety of special events, you know. So yeah, and we have to find that time. We have to find that, and there is a the invented in England. It was called the anchor escapement, which was a lever-based like ship's anchor. The motion of pendulum clock this device it catches that releases tooth, it turning it to a precise amount, like the original form. So okay, this is gonna be they developed a new cabinet shape for a type of timekeeper. Unlike the original form used in early pendulum clocks, the anchor escapement permitted. So unlike means other than the original pendulum clocks, and they named it grandfather clock. And so thus led to the development of a new floor standing case design, which became known as the grandfather clock. As the grandfather, as the when we see the word known as, this oftentimes this means that there's going to be a mentioning of a new of a pretty much a technical term. So a new cabinet shape for a type of timekeeper. A type of is often related to the word known as known as, right? So sometimes the known as, when we see the word known as, we often know that the word after this known as is we're going to have some sort of a new not new but a technical term that is basically pretty much cannot be most of the time paraphrased or changed. And as a synonym, the word a type, look alike, or similar to are the paraphrases for the expression known as. So, and it's saying that they developed a new cabinet shape. So the grandfather clock, a type of new key, stood on the floor, and the what is this saying? Okay. Use of limit which could be once a second, and this led to the new form of which became known as it. Today, highly accurate timekeeping instruments set by Burgos Malacardon. Nearly all computers contain a quartz crystal glass, blah 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 blah. Do we have it? So stood alright, so stood on the floor. A new cabinet shape stood on the floor. Okay, so I pretty much believe that it's that was developed by who? By the English. We know that it's England, so it's pretty much English, I guess. English. We have D. All right, so we have that. They created a cloud calendar to organize public events and work schedules, and we remember that it was in the first paragraph where communal activities. Who? Babylonians. So do we have Babylonians? We have A. Yeah. So there we go. It's a synonym for organized public events, means coordinate communal activities. So there we go. We highlighted that, and of course that's pretty easy to find. So yeah, who? Babylonians, and we're left with only question 8, and we're going to highlight that as well. So there we go, guys. We just literally finished another passage 1 of Cambridge 8 test 1. For a Chronicle of Timekeeping. So there we go. If you have any questions, if you find a sort of a question that is misunderstanding, I'm going to be very happy to help you to explain that in a more in-depth exploration. So if you liked it and if you believe that this video was helpful to navigate you through the answers and how to actually IELTS reading works, I would be very happy, and I would really appreciate if you just could literally subscribe and like. So thank you very much, everyone, guys, for watching, and have a wonderful time.